A woman is now facing charges for apparently leaving a weapon unsecured that resulted in a 2-year-old shooting their father to death. You're seeing a photo of the woman facing the charges right now, Marie Ayala. The 28-year-old Florida mother was on probation for child neglect, has now been charged in her husband's death after authorities allege that her 2-year-old son found an unsecured handgun and fatally shot his dad in the back. This is Reggie Mabry, 26-year-old, was shot while playing a video game. Orange County Sheriff John Mina says the gun was not properly stored. In fact, it was easily accessible, even to a 2-year-old, and the result is a tragedy that no one in this community can really comprehend. By the way, this happened on May 26th in East Orlando. The couple shares the house with 3 children aged 5, 2, and 5 months. She has been arrested and booked into jail. JR, I don't have the experience with young children that you do. I just can't imagine how a 2-year-old could be in a position to come across a weapon, virtually, no matter how unsecured, honestly, at that point, to result in a tragedy like this. It is just so devastating, so
Yeah.
needless.
Every time you have a peek into other folks' houses and their lives and their home life, you're like, well, what scenario produced this outcome? How is the normal day to day happen in someone's life where a gun is that accessible and also able to in a position where once a child gets their hands on it, then just easily fires it. It's not like the kid knows how to dismantle a gun and put it back together, take off the safety, load it, and all that stuff. All that was set and good to go. So the number of things that could have gone wrong here, even without the 2-year-old getting his or her hands on the gun, I'm not sure if it was a little boy or girl. It was a boy.
If it was a boy,
Got his
to your
hands on
point.
the gun. Many other things could have happened with that gun. It could have been pushed off of whatever table or platform it was on. It could have landed the wrong way. Who knows if they have animals in the house? There's so many different things that could have been horrible with this. But then this just happened to be probably the worst outcome that it could have been. Someone's leg could have got shot where it's less lethal. But man, again, this is the type of stuff. And I remember some of the initiatives and some of the ideas when it came to gun reform was always hear this. It's teaching people with safe lockup procedures. I can't remember the term of these, but basically safe storage. How does that work? What are you going to tell people when they go home? How are we going to monitor that? What part of a policy getting people to store their guns safely and securely? How does that get actually enforced or
I mean,
actually come across to folks when they go home? You don't tell me how I take off my shoes when I walk in the door because I like to do it before I hit the carpeted rooms. Like those
mhm.
things don't get legislated. So this is just one of those
I
things that once it's there, it could be devastating.
yeah, I think it's an encouragement, and it could lead to more legal penalties. If we find out after a crime has been committed that you didn't do it, that's basically it. You
Yeah.
you can't actually force them. People are saying in the chat, I can't attest to this, but they're saying that trigger locks are generally made available at police stations. Like, I mean, guns are not toys. Obviously, you have multiple kids. Like maybe the 2-year-old you might not have assumed could come across it, but a 5-year-old could potentially find a gun. And look, it happens, and it doesn't always result in tragedy. I once was at a party as a kid, and I came across in a bedroom what my parents told me afterward was a toy gun. I don't believe that was a toy gun. Now that I'm an adult, I think I came across an actual gun in that. Why did an adult have a toy gun in their room? It happens, people. But sometimes it results in a death like this, and this is why we always say simply having a gun in your house drastically raises the chance by the nature of reality that someone gets shot, because that's what guns do. In this particular case, Marie Ayala, she's been charged with manslaughter by culpable negligence, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of ammunition by a convicted felon, and violation of probation. So this is going to be really bad for her, obviously, and legally. And by the way, let's note, when you're a convicted felon, you're not supposed to have a firearm, because conservatives believe that there are some things that should stop you from having a gun. They just really don't want to expand the bounds of that. And this is not just a thing that happened tragically to this family. So far in 2022, there have been unintentional shootings by 21 children, resulting in 9 deaths and 13 injuries. That is 9 unimaginable tragedies just so far. Last year, there were 377 unintentional shootings that resulted in 154 deaths. That is more gun deaths by unintentional child shooters than many countries have via gun violence altogether. It's a tiny little fraction of ours. It's more than some entire countries have, but this is what we tolerate. This is what we're not working to stop.
What you guys think about now? what this kid is going to have to be told as he grows up. What happened to I'm not sure if it was his dad, but what happened to his dad?
I believe it was.
And who did it? Why is he no longer here? Man, the repercussions and the reverberations from something like this will last his entire life, and theirs too. And his mom is in jail for how many years? This is devastating. And again, yeah, you can say, "Oh, look at these irresponsible gun owners." I'm a responsible gun owner, because they like to push that at the beginning of every time they say, "Hey, responsible, law-abiding gun ownership is actually where we have no issues." If you have no issues with responsible, law-abiding gun owners, they're not the ones making the news, are they? We're talking about ones who aren't. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, imagine if some people who are really into board games were going around and killing people with the board games. I'm a responsible, law-abiding board game owner. It would bother me even more that people were doing that with something that I take so seriously and care about more. So a lot of gun owners do step up and are on the right side of this. I would like to see more of that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.